In the winter of 1852, a quiet Massachusetts town learned a terrifying truth, a truth that left everyone wondering just what is normal and what is fantasy. By the end of this story, you will learn that sometimes a clock doesn't just tell time, sometimes it decides when your time is over. This is the story of Clara Wexley, the clockmaker's daughter who was accused of witchcraft when death began to follow the sound of ticking in the early 1850s. In the heart of Alderbridge stood Wexley's Timepieces, a humble shop known for one thing, its beautiful and almost magical clocks. The owner, Henry Wexley, was a quiet man. He keeps to himself and everyone definitely likes him. His daughter Clara was even quieter. She was but a 16-year-old with silver blonde hair and pale eyes that seemed older than her years. People said she rarely spoke. Some say she couldn't speak at all. Not that she was to be blamed. Losing her mother at such an early age wasn't something a child could handle. But she listened. Always listened. Especially to the clocks. This strange behavior left many people puzzled. However, perhaps out of pity, they let her be. On a frigid night in January 1852, something impossible happened. Every clock in the shop, old, new, broken, waiting to be repaired, began to strike 12. All of them, in perfect unison. Henry rushed downstairs to see what was happening. There, he found Clara standing among the ringing clocks, perfectly still. When she saw her father appear in the shop, she said softly, "Someone will die tonight." By morning, Mrs. Adelaide Porter, a respected schoolteacher, was found dead in her bed. At first, the town dismissed it as a coincidence. After all, death is unpredictable. Nobody knew when it would come for them. But then, it happened again. 3 nights later, the clocks rang again, this time around 11:54 p.m., 6 minutes before midnight. This time around, too, the clockmakers found her daughter at the same spot as the first time. She again whispered yet another ominous sentence. 6 minutes, 6 days. Exactly 6 days later, a young farmer collapsed in the fields, with no injury and no illness. Doctors couldn't explain it. Parents pulled their children close, afraid Clara would announce their death next. Not that it would have made any difference. There is no defense against death. People choose to cross the street to the other side to avoid Clara. However, Wexley's clocks? They began ticking louder, as if speaking. More deaths followed. Sheriff Marin believed someone, perhaps Clara, was tampering with the clocks. So he arrived at the shop demanding answers. Henry insisted his daughter was innocent. The clocks were malfunctioning, he explained. Of course, he also stated that the ticking of clocks doesn't determine who dies, citing that death comes on its own time. He said nothing more after that. But the sheriff, afraid his family, or even he, would be next, didn't sleep. He keeps searching for answers, and one time, he found something Henry had tried to hide, or maybe he hadn't seen before. Clara's diary. Its pages were filled with strange drawings, time spirals, human silhouettes, clocks without hands, and one repeated line, "I hear the world unwind." On February 18th, Alderbridge faced a storm powerful enough to shake the houses. That night, the clocks didn't strike 12, they struck 13. People woke from nightmares, windows rattled, dogs howled. Clara stood in the street this time, her hair soaked, staring straight ahead. She keeps whispering the same word over and over again. The 13th chime means a soul is taken early. The next morning, Sheriff Marin, the man investigating her, was found dead at his desk, his hands still gripping Clara's diary. Fear turned to fury. The townspeople demanded Clara's arrest. They claimed she commanded the time of death, that she whispered to clocks, that she predicted deaths because she caused them. Henry begged them to stop, but the council called for a public hearing, one that was later branded a witch trial. On the day of the trial, Clara sat silent, eyes fixed on nothing, until a councilman asked her one question. "How do you know when someone will die?" Clara finally looked up, and for the first time, everyone saw terror in her eyes. It was like she was afraid of something. Someone. When she spoke, her tone was shaky and filled with terror. Because I don't predict it. I hear it. The clocks just repeat what time has already decided. After the trial, which was left undecided, the council searched Wexley's shop for signs of witchcraft. Clara insisted that none of this was her fault nor her father's. She hears the clocks, and she speaks what they say. They didn't listen to her, so they went ahead to search. In the end, they found no charms, no potions, no cursed tools. But in the basement, behind an old cabinet, they discovered something strange. A single, ancient wooden gear, too old to belong to any modern clock, carved with symbols no one recognized. Clara stared at it in horror. "I told you, I didn't build it. It was here before Father bought this place." "The clocks answer to it, not to me." The council dismissed this as madness, but Henry knew the truth. He had found the gear years ago embedded inside the wall, and the day he touched it, Clara was born. He can now see that things aren't as simple as they seem. Something she touched only once turns out to hold the doom for him and his daughter. Unable to prove her innocence, Clara Wexley was placed under house confinement while the council debated her fate. That night, every clock in Alderbridge stopped, all at once. Every ticking heart of the town fell silent. At dawn, when people checked on Clara, she was gone. Her room was untouched, her window locked. Her diary was open on the bed. Only one sentence was newly written. "Time took me back." Henry closed the shop the next morning and left Alderbridge forever. The ancient wooden gear was never found, but some say, on quiet winter nights, you can still hear clocks striking 13, and a girl's soft voice whispering, "I hear the world unwind."